Hi, I'm Greg Zayatz, played football at North Tonawanda High School, freshman year in 60, varsity 61, 62, 63.
And you came into the Hall of Fame in 2013.
2013, after many, many years of waiting. Kind of a tough situation with that for people who probably don't realize it, but I know people sitting over here, Frank Pilata, played with George Vetter. Kind of tough to pick a throwing quarterback back in those years, because George was pretty tough on throwing the football. He kind of had a mentality of Darrell Royal. Darrell Royal always said, if you put the ball in the air, there's three things that can happen, and two of them are bad. And Ohio State coach, I forget his name now.
Woody Hayes.
Woody Hayes, thank you, was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And you can argue if you want, but George was so successful with the running game. I mean, he was a single wing. Pretty much for my sophomore year, I was like a pulling guard. After that, we kind of went to the tee a lot bit more than that. Nick Seebeck was coaching then on the offensive side of the football, and Johnny Ployak was the line coach. But I think if maybe one thing I wish I could have played with Nick Seebeck as a head coach, because I think he would let me air it out. And Nick was always with the, if you people knew him, Nick always had a finger. They started out this way and went out there, and he'd always give you that veteran Mr. V. And it was kind of a laugh after a while. Me and a good friend of mine that had passed on, Bobby Frank, who quarterbacked at the North too. We used to always, God bless you, son. Always give you a little pinky salute. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
So you being a throwing quarterback and Mr. V being a running coach in a running program, am I wrong by assuming there was a little difference of opinion from time to time?
Pretty much. It was always before game time, we'd go up in that little room he had down at the old high school, and we'd discuss the game plans and that, and he'd say, well, what do you want to do on the first play? And of course I'd say, well, let's throw the deep one. Well, I can understand that, he'd say, but let's run a 46, or let's run a left formation 48. So that's what we did.
How were your teams back then when you played high school at NT?
Well, my freshman year we did well, but I think we were undefeated, but we threw the ball quite a bit, and I had a big tight end, actually a wide receiver, Gary Westfall, who was probably about my size back then, 6'2", good speed, and we threw a lot of slant patterns at him, and he'd catch the ball, and you're not going to catch him. And we did well. Wally Greider was the coach. I believe we were undefeated. Sophomore year, we were a mediocre team. I think we were maybe 5-3, which was not a real great winning percentage for a North Tonawanda team. The Tonawanda game, we tied, I believe, 13-13. Sophomore year, I lettered. I played a little quarterback, and I did some kickoffs for the team. We played Tonawanda, and it was a 13-13 tie. My junior year, we had a lot of returnees, and we went undefeated. It was a fun year. We played we played in a lot of lousy weather. Culminating with the Tonawanda TNT game, which played in Tonawanda, and it was probably a foot of snow on there, and it was pretty damn cold out. And they were undefeated, we were undefeated. And I remember the paper saying, irresistible force for the immovable object. Well, anyways, we ended up winning the game 13-6, which was a big win over a good Tonawanda football team. Rick Casada, who went on to play in Canada. And they threw the ball around a lot. And I guess I got one thing I could say to Rick was, I remember your last play of the game when you threw the ball. I got it. Wrong colored jersey, Rick. Good team. We had, another strange thing is we had a good team with Dave Anastasio was my center, Dave Vona was a guard, George Fletcher, good old Bowser, Ronnie Colatarsi, all those guys. I probably forgot somebody. Dave Pettit. It was a strange situation because it was like somebody drew a line. The whole line was from the south side of town. And our backfield, I was quarterback, Profrock and Gary Atkins and Richie, let me think again, Profrock, Gary Atkins, that's what it was, Atkins and Driscoll. And all the backs were all from Growlick. You could have thrown probably within a mile of each other, which I thought was strange.
Any funny stories or anything unique that you want to share? Something that stuck out, that a unique situation, you know, being on the team or playing or during a game?
Yes. Oh, there was a couple of games where I got kind of knocked a little nutsy cuckoo in. I can remember getting cold-cocked in one game where I got back up and went into the huddle, and the guys are looking at me and saying, "Hey," I go, "Yeah, call a play." And I said, "Huh? Call what?" And I was out of the game for a short time and then back in. But we were a good, close-knit team. I don't know how true the story is. We got it from Dave Pettit, who had a ride to Bama. Didn't fare out too well there. They told him to stick to track, not knocking his ability, but he had said that somewhere he had read in a magazine that our undefeated team of that year was rated like number 5 in the country. But the good times, I think probably the best times outside of being on a field were in the locker room. A lot of pranks, a lot of things with John Pluak. John Pluak was a funny guy. He was a little short guy. At the Bucknell, they used to call him the Russian Runt. Along with Vetter. Vetter, I think, was another Bucknell alumni. And the odd thing about it is my son, Corey, who's in the hall also, graduated from Bucknell University. But that's about it. I wish I could have thrown the ball a little bit more, but I tried.
If you met somebody off the street and having a conversation with them or a beverage, you started talking about high school football, what would you tell them about North Tonawanda football?
That's pretty synonymous. I think anybody that I've talked to, we talked about football, and North Tonawanda is football. I became kind of disenchanted. I coached there for probably 3 or 4 years at the freshman varsity, or not varsity, JV and modified. And to this day, I miss it a lot. It's nice. The kids are very receptive. There was a great program. It was started way back when. Things have fallen on hard times for a few years there, but I'm sure with the staff they have now that it's going to rebound, but it's, you know, people say, well, what happened to North Tonawanda football? Well, got to give it a little bit of time. It's not going to happen overnight. There was a few people involved that, I'm not mentioning names, but probably shouldn't have been in the positions that they were in, and didn't receive a lot of help from the powers that be.
Had a conversation here so far. Anything that you want to add as one final thought for this video?
Well, I'm glad the Hall is doing what they're doing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's something you'll never forget in your life. When I got in, to me, it was one of the best things that ever happened. I mean, I played all the sports. I played basketball. I played baseball. I was first team All-League in baseball. The biggest thing I could say right now, and it still holds, it kind of chokes me up, and I'm not a real Terry guy, but I got two sons that are in this Hall of Fame also, which I'm very, very proud of.